Greetings, kindred. We're going to continue our study of the book of Ezekiel. We're going to begin with chapter 28 and go through verses 1 through 10. And by the way, I just want to apologize for taking so long to get this next study out. I've had a lot on my plate lately, but hopefully I'll be able to pick right back up where I left off and continue with this series. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. We have now seen how Satan operates his ship and how that once he gets her up and sailing along, he soon has all the nations of the world, including the Christian nations I speak of today, going to and fro and trafficking their goods and services in his markets, which he controls the power of the 4 hidden dynasties. Tyrus, which means rock, was a forerunner, a type which we could see of the one world system that exists in these end times. And our faith has been increased in knowing that our Father said he would completely destroy Tyrus and all the corruption that went along with it. And he did just that, just as he said he will destroy the new world order, the beast system of Revelation 13, when Yeshua Messiah returns. I want to stop and make a little comment here. This New World Order, I submit, as many believe, is not a 5th kingdom, but it's part of the 4th beast system that Daniel chapter 7 speaks of, which is basically Papal Rome. And that when Yeshua Messiah returns, he's going to destroy anything that offends and set up actually a new world order controlled by his elect. Okay, let's continue. Now we are going to be given the inside scoop, to use a little of Satan's market lingo, about the perverted individual behind all the graft and corruption and deceit that entangles and draws people away from Yahweh's righteous ways. He is described first as the prince of Tyrus, and then as king of Tyrus. Perhaps it should be pointed out that there are some very fine scholars who say that prince is to be distinguished as the type from the king of Cyrus, the king of Tyrus, and that the prince was a mere man and the king refers to Satan himself. Even so, if the prince is a type, then all of his characteristics are types and apply to Satan anyway. The point is that this entire 28th chapter of Ezekiel is all about Satan and how he became corrupt and how he corrupted the nations and the children of Yahweh with his ship of Tyrus, both in the first earth age and now in this one. Note, if you are just joining us and are new to our studies, and if you are not familiar with the world that then was and what happened back in the prehistoric time of the dinosaurs, then write to us for a free booklet, The Plan of God. We'll be happy to send it to you. Okay, I want to stop here for a minute. Lance Knight's church, King's Chapel, is no longer in existence, so he no longer has this book available. I may be doing an audio study of that book, which I have, and hopefully can do that after we finish this study of Ezekiel. Okay, let's continue. Ezekiel 28, verse 1. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus saith Almighty Yahweh, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am Yahweh, I sit in the seat of Yahweh, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and do not Yahweh, though thou set thine heart as the heart of Yahweh. We will learn in our next study that when Satan was created, our Father gave him the honorable position of a prince, but he eventually became proud and his heart was lifted up with self-importance, and he began to think of himself as more than just a man, though that is all he was and is. Not only that, soon he will be a dead man and cease to exist. Let's go back in time before the present earth age, before the earth became destroyed, void and without form, in Genesis 1 verse 2, to the time of Satan's rebellion in the world that then was, before it perished. 2 Peter 3:6. Isaiah 14:12. How thou art fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning! How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? In the world that then was, Satan was called Lucifer, which means a bright morning star. Again, we will document later in this chapter that when he was created, he was given the high position of a prince, a star among the people. But being a prince eventually wasn't good enough for him, and he wanted to be king. Notice also that he did weaken the nations. How? It was by his same ship of Tyrus in the world that then was that he did weaken them. Here is what Lucifer wanted. 13. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Satan wanted to be in total control and sit in the highest seat of the government of Yahweh, which is Yahweh's own throne. Here's the definition of stars from Strong's Concordance. Stars, Kokab, Hebrew 3556, probably from the same as Hebrew 3522. Kaban, in the sense of rolling, or Hebrew 3554, kava, in the sense of blazing. A star as round or as shining. Figurative, a prince. Star, gazer. While we're at it, here are the definitions of prince and king used in this chapter. Prince, Nagid, Hebrew 5057, or Nagid from Hebrew 5046. Nagad, a commander as occupying the front, civil, military, or religious, generally abstract plural, honorable themes. Captain, chief, excellent thing, chief, governor, leader, noble, prince, chief, ruler. Okay, and then king, Melech, Hebrew 4428 from Hebrew 4427. Malach, a king, royal. Here is the prime root of Melech, king, Malach, Hebrew 4427. A primitive root to reign, inceptive to ascend the throne, causative to induct into royalty, hence, by implication, to take counsel, consult, indeed, to make a set up, to make set up, king, be, make, queen, begin to make, reign, reigning, rule, surely. Verse 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Lucifer wanted to be king, even the King of Kings, and so he exalted himself above the other princes, stars, in that first earth age. We will see that he was judged and found to be guilty as a result of his rebellion and was sentenced to several jail terms before his execution in the lake of fire. Verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. This happens during the millennium when Satan is bound in the pit for that 1,000-year period. Revelation 20, verse 2. Verse 16, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider these, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake the kingdoms? You see, he is still just a man. He is no Yahweh. He never was. To narrowly look upon thee is an expression which means to look upon someone and not think much of them, i.e., to look at them as a debased individual, a lowlife. The modern phrase, he's the pits, describes Satan. Let's return to Ezekiel and continue reading about the prince of Tyre, or Tyrus, which equals Tyre. Ezekiel 28, verse 3. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. Daniel was made the prime minister of Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel 2:48 reads, Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Though you can be sure that Daniel was wiser than the serpent, yet old King Nebuchadnezzar was influenced more by him, who is wiser and more subtle and cunning in the ways of the world than Daniel, such ways as graft and bribery and seduction and buying favors, because even Nebuchadnezzar was bought off by the prince of Tyre. Verse 4, With thy wisdom and with thine understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. Again, it was not Yahweh's wisdom that got Lucifer riches and gold and silver. He was wise in knowing how to use people for self-gain. Ezekiel 28, verse 5. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. He learned how to merchandise through controlling economics and markets, and because he profited exceedingly, he increased his power base and influence over people's lives, and so he exalted himself as one who knows best, better than Yahweh, how to rule over others. Make no mistake about it, this is the attitude of socialist liberals. They are, quote, little gods, quote, in their own minds, who believe they know better how to run your life and raise your children than you do. They follow Satan's ways, not Yahweh's, and they look down upon people as being unenlightened. I'm going to stop here. Lance says they look down upon Christians as being unenlightened. But I have to say, I am no longer a Christian, but an Israelite identist. And we'll explain more about that later. Isn't that exactly what Satan accused Eve of being, unenlightened? Quote, Look, honey, you don't really believe that Bible stuff, what Yahweh told you, do you? I just can't understand why it is that Yahweh doesn't want you to have a good time. You're not going to die just because you want to have some fun and maybe fool around a little. Wake up and open your eyes and expand your horizons and let loose and live a little. Quit living in the dark ages. Now, come on over here, you sweet thing, and take a closer look at this magnificent gift I brought just for you. Do you like it? Unquote. Ooh, do you suppose, and this is me speaking, do you suppose Satan had those kinds of words with Eve in the garden? And exactly what was that gift he brought her? Anyway, let's continue. Genesis 3:4, And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. Verse 5, For Yahweh doth know in that day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Malachim, knowing good and evil. You see, what did I tell you? Liberals think that they know what is right and wrong, or good and evil. Sorry, pal. Our Father has already determined that which is right and that that which is wrong. Ever hear of the laws of Yahweh? Well, commandment number 1 says, thou shalt have no other Malachim before him. And that includes you, yourself. Ezekiel 28, verse 6. Therefore, thus saith Almighty Yahweh, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of Yahweh, behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. Not only is your whole ship going to sink like a rock, Satan, but you, as its captain, are going down with it. Verse 8. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Verse 9. Wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am Yahweh? But thou shalt be a man and know Yahweh in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Hey, Satan, quote, are you still going to tell everyone who walks by you in the millennium and narrowly looks down upon you in the pit that you are Yahweh? Yeah, right. Ezekiel 28, verse 10. Thou shalt die the depths of the uncircumcised, and by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, saith Yahweh Almighty. One thing is for sure, when Almighty Yahweh saith it, it shall be doneth. The Old English language is a hoot, isn't it? In our next study, we will read the sad story of the king of Cyrus and learn why the prehistoric age of the dinosaurs was destroyed, and even why we are now in flesh bodies watching Satan's ship sailing upon the seas in this final generation. Okay, that ends this study, and we'll pick it up next time in chapter 28, verse 11. And until then, may Yahweh richly bless you. Hallelujah.